The Indian night was a suffocating blanket, the oppressive heat amplifying the cloying sweetness of jasmine and the fetid aroma of ancient secrets. A stillness hung in the air, broken only by the occasional scrip of unseen creatures in the overgrown gardens surrounding the Haveli. Flickering lamps, suspended precariously from decaying arches, cast long dancing shadows that stretched and contorted, barely piercing the gloom that clung to the ancient structure like a shroud. Inside the Haveli, the air vibrated with a palpable energy, a sinister confluence of anticipation and dread. A gathering of nobles and mystics, their faces etched with a mixture of reverence and unease, waited in hushed silence within the grand hall. They had come from afar, drawn by whispers of the Ustad's unparalleled talent. They had come to hear him, the great Ustad Karim Nawaz, the master of the Sitar, a man whose music was said to possess the power to move souls. Ustad Karim Nawaz was a legend. His music was an experience, a journey into emotion. He sat poised, his fingers resting lightly on the strings of his sitar. His deep, kohl-rimmed eyes scanned the assembled guests, finally settling on the mysterious woman seated at the far end of the hall, his patron for the evening. She was an enigma. Draped in a crimson veil, her features obscured, she exuded an aura of both allure and menace. Her presence filled the chamber, commanding attention and respect. The nobles and mystics, accustomed to courtly intrigue, were subdued in her presence. Her voice a silken whisper that carried an undercurrent of ancient power. The Ustad inclined his head. He recognized the command in her voice. This was no ordinary performance. He took a deep breath and began to play. The first notes were crisp and pure, shimmering with an ethereal beauty. The raga he had composed was a melody that transcended time and space. His fingers moved with impossible speed, weaving intricate patterns of sound. The air grew heavy. The guests leaned in, entranced. Then she removed her veil. A collective gasp rippled through the room. She had no face. Where her features should have been, there was only darkness, an unfathomable abyss. The shadows in the room deepened, stretching and contorting. The music did not stop. The sitar seemed to have a life of its own, the Ustad no longer in control. A frenzied energy overtook him. The melody, once beautiful, became a scream, a lament that echoed through eternity. The guests fled in terror, their cries swallowed by the haunting notes. The opulent hall became a scene of pandemonium. Ustad Karim Nawaz was never seen again. His music, his life, had been consumed by the darkness he unleashed. The Haveli became a place of dread. The haunting melody of the sitar played at odd hours, though no human hand touched the instrument. Servants fled, claiming to see the Ustad's shadow and hear his mournful sobs. The Haveli's owner, Nawab Jalaluddin, sought help, but none could silence the cursed melody. They warned that the Ustad's soul was bound to the sitar. In a desperate attempt to contain the unholy presence, Nawab Jalaluddin ordered the Haveli to be sealed off. The musician's chamber, the epicenter of the haunting, was locked and barred, the sitar placed within. The once grand halls fell silent, a testament to the enduring power of the curse. But some songs are never forgotten. The Ustad's Lament, a melody born of beauty and horror, continued to echo through the corridors of time. Meera, a historian drawn to old Havelis, saw them as living chronicles of human experience. When she received an invitation to document the ruins of an abandoned mansion in Old Delhi, she couldn't resist. The Haveli loomed before her, a majestic ruin against the backdrop of the bustling city. Its once grand walls, now covered in a tapestry of creeping vines, stood as a testament to the relentless march of time. A sense of melancholy hung in the air. Yet, beneath the decay, Meera sensed a strange vitality. Arjun's voice echoed with concern. "Are you sure about this, Meera? The locals say this place is cursed." With a hint of excitement, Meera's voice responded, "Ghost stories intrigue me, Arjun. Besides, think of the historical significance." Riya chimed in, her tone both skeptical and supportive. "If you're going ghost hunting, I'm not letting you do it alone." As they ventured deeper into the Haveli, the atmosphere shifted, growing heavier, more oppressive. The air was thick with the scent of decay and the faint, lingering fragrance of jasmine. The silence was profound, broken only by the rustling of the wind through the crumbling archways. The moment they crossed the threshold of the musician's chamber, they felt it, a sudden and unmistakable shift in the air. The temperature dropped dramatically, and a strange metallic tang filled their nostrils. At the center of the room sat a sitar, its dark wood gleaming. It radiated an aura of profound sadness. Its strings vibrated softly. Meera felt an inexplicable pull towards the instrument. She reached out to touch it. The moment her fingers grazed the strings, a piercing whisper rushed past her ears. "Play for me." The voice sent a jolt of terror through her. Meera spun around, her eyes wide with fear, but there was no one there. The shadows stretched and danced along the walls. The ornate murals seemed to twist and writhe. She turned back to the sitar, her gaze fixed on its shimmering strings. Something about it called to her, a song unplayed, a story unfinished. Her fingers moved almost involuntarily, guided by an unseen force. The first note she plucked was tentative, yet it resonated with a power that surprised even her. The sound was intoxicating, a melody both beautiful and unnervingly sorrowful. As she played, a strange haze began to form around her, swirling like mist. The temperature continued to drop, and the air grew heavy with the scent of decay and the faint fragrance of jasmine. The room shimmered, and suddenly she wasn't alone. A dim, flickering candlelight reflection appeared in the ornate mirror across from her, revealing another figure in the room, a man draped in a deep maroon sherwani, his hands poised over the sitar just like hers. His face was gaunt and pale, his eyes filled with an unspeakable sadness. Ustad Karim Nawaz, and behind him, lurking in the shadows, stood another figure, Anya Nawaz, his descendant. Unlike the Ustad, Anya was very much alive. Her large, innocent eyes and gentle smile gave her a sweet and endearing appearance. But beneath this facade of sweetness lay a cold, calculating mind, and eyes that gleamed with a sinister light. "You should not have played. You have awakened something that should have remained dormant." "We need to go, Meera, now. This place is not safe." The walls of the chamber rippled like liquid, the ancient murals distorting and twisting. The ornate carvings on the walls seemed to come alive, their grotesque faces leering down at them. The sitar strings burned beneath Meera's touch, yet she couldn't let go. It was as if her hands were no longer her own, as if she was being controlled by an unseen force. The music flowed through her, a torrent of emotions and memories that were not her own, a haunting melody that bound her to the past. "You're already his. The sitar has chosen you. You are bound to its song now, just like he was." The candlelight flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed on the walls. The reflection in the mirror was no longer Meera's. It was a distorted, twisted image, a mask of terror that mirrored the horror of the Ustad. Some songs never end, the music, it hungers. The sitar, lying on the floor, seemingly abandoned, plucked a single resonating note by itself, a chilling echo of the Ustad's lament. The chamber door swung open with a deafening creak, as if forced open by an unseen hand, a silent invitation to escape the horrors within. Riya, her instincts overriding her fear, dragged Meera out of the room, pulling her away from the cursed Sitar. They ran into the night, their hearts pounding, their minds reeling from the terrifying encounter, the haunting melody of the Sitar echoing in their ears. Weeks later, the Haveli was silent once more, its secrets buried beneath layers of dust and decay. The locals avoided it, whispering tales of the haunted Sitar and the tormented Ustad. But the silence was deceptive. The curse was a living entity waiting to awaken. And the Haveli waited, until another traveller, drawn by the whispers of the haunted Sitar, stepped through its rusted gates. The air shifted once more, the temperature dropping. The sitar lying in the musician's chamber plucked a single resonating note. The cycle began anew. The song that never ended had found a new voice. The walls of the Haveli whispered once more, their ancient stones trembling with a hunger that could never be satisfied.